Today I'm out looking for black and white images, and I'm going to be shooting handheld. Why? Well, I'll explain more in the video. I hope you'll enjoy it. If you do, and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. It is the 2nd of May. This evening, in fact in about 3 hours time, we are forecasting heavy rain and storms coming through here and lasting for the next 3 or 4 days. Unbelievable, the weather we're having. It is now officially the wettest spring on record for this part of Spain. And from a personal standpoint, I can say that in the last 2 months, there hasn't been a single week when we haven't had at least 2 or 3 days of heavy rains. Unbelievable. Now, I've decided to come out today because it might be the only chance I get this week, given the conditions and a few other things going on which have got nothing to do with photography. And because it's the middle of the afternoon, because we've got a mix of cloudy skies and blue skies at the moment, I thought black and white would be the way to go. And I've decided I'm going to look for black and white compositions, but I'm also just going to shoot handheld because it is pretty bright. It's also pretty warm, as evidenced by the fact that I'm wearing a t-shirt. So even though we've got storms coming in, it's still pretty hot. But I can shoot handheld because it's still pretty bright. I can easily maintain the shutter speeds that I need for handheld shooting. And although it's a little bit breezy on the mountain, there's not a lot of movement in the clouds, so there's going to be no benefit in doing long exposures. So I just decided to leave the tripod at home and travel a bit lighter. Anyway, time to push on and see what we can find further up the mountain to create some black and white images. If you watched my video a couple of weeks ago where I talked specifically about the choice to go black and white, you may remember I said I don't very often go out with a plan to shoot black and white. Well, today is the exception. So what I'm really looking for black and white is contrasts, dark and light. I'm looking for shapes, lines, textures, layers. If I can find anything like that in a scene, then it might make for an interesting black and white image. I've got my camera set up on with the picture profile as black and white. Just helps for the visualization as well, if I'm not sure. It's actually pretty warm. Here's a combination of contrast and lines. There's quite a lot of light coming through the scene here behind me. There's a fairly biggish tree in the middle here. There's some smaller trees around the outside, lots of pine cones, pine needles picking up light. So a high contrast, black and white of that vertical orientation with a telephoto lens. That might look interesting. Looking out across this scene here, there's an example of some layers and contrasts, because the nearer sort of hills and mountain peaks are standing out reasonably well against the background, and then as you go further back it gets lighter and lighter, and then there's clouds over in the background. So I'm thinking a shot probably with either with that the first kind of bigger hill either in the middle of the frame or just off to one side, with the other hills in the background and the clouds across the top. Definitely telephoto. So let's see what we can do. 1/500th of a second, f8, focused on the dark peak. This might be one of those occasions when ignoring the actual horizon and just balancing the scene, because there's nothing in there to tell you it's wrong. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to tilt the camera slightly to create more of a symmetry in the composition. So looking at the conditions we've got here at the minute, it's hard to believe that we're supposed to be getting heavy rain and storms in the next 2 to 3 hours. But I've been here long enough now to know that the weather here, when it turns really quickly. And I can see lots of heavy cloud out that way, which is inland, or partially inland, and also over that way, which is inland. And that's where the storms are coming from, inland towards the coast, and there's loads and loads of mountain ranges going out in those directions. So what's going to happen is the storms are going to come across those mountains, and then when it hits where we are now, the chances are the weather will turn really quickly. You know, maybe in the space of half an hour we'll go from scattered cloud and blue skies to completely cloudy skies and, you know, getting dark, and then rain. So I'm keeping a close eye on things. I did think I could see way over in the distance those sort of, you know, you kind of get those almost diagonal or slanting lines right off in the background, which is indicating rain way off in the distance. Can't see it at the moment, but I think it's going to happen. So I'm keeping a close eye on it. I've got waterproofs with me if I get caught. But the problem is, if we get heavy rain here, you know, this just turns to mud very, very quickly. It dries very quickly, but it just turns to mud. It can be a bit treacherous. So, you know, if it looks like we're going to get some rain, I shall beat a hasty retreat to the car. I'll say a hasty retreat. I mean, at the minute I'm a good 30 minutes walk from the car, so it's not going to be that hasty. That's why I need to keep an eye on things. I always like this end of a ridge that comes around here. It's really rugged. Very difficult to get a nice shot of it, but I think I'm going to do something, because I think black and white will work here. Get a shot with the tree on one side, and then the, if you like, the peak, the end of the ridge, kind of in the middle with the clouds going up above. Don't really want this tree on the left coming in. Don't want to get in too close either. Tree on the left is a pain. Okay, I don't want that tree on the left coming in, so I'm going to go vertical. I don't want to angle up too much because it will distort things quite a bit. quite a lot of cloud over there, and there's some of it just sort of drifting across the top of the mountain in the distance, the name of which I can never remember. And I'm thinking telephoto shot zoomed right in on that, just the cloud and the shape of the mountain as it's sort of being hidden and revealed. That might be quite interesting. So I'm going to grab that shot. So everything apart from the cloud and a little bit of mounting, it's going to be quite minimalist actually. Sometimes I think just the textures in the cloud is almost enough to make an image on its own, but if you can find something to add to that in the landscape, then it's worth it. And I think I've got a scene here. There's a kind of a rocky bit that sticks out. There's a pale bit that I can bring in from the bottom left hand corner of the scene and up to the rocky bit sticking out. Then there's a kind of a rounded hill with some grasses on the top, and then the clouds up above. Okay, definitely getting a lot cloudier out in the direction of inland, which is where the storm's coming from. And although it's still warm, there's definitely a feeling, a change in the air. And some of the mountains that I was photographing earlier are now completely hidden by cloud. And I think it's a job to tell whether it's cloud or rain, but I think I can see rain way out in the distance. Still a fair distance away, so hopefully I can, get back to the car before the storm hits here. And it may even be that it takes, another couple of hours before it hits here. It was due, according to the weather forecast, it was due in about 45 minutes to an hour's time. But, the weather forecast could be wrong. It could be that it's going to be another, hour or so after that. But I think it's probably time to pack up and head for home. I've had a nice little walk out and hopefully got some nice black and white images to show you. You'll already have seen them, I guess. Ooh, I don't know if you could hear that, but that sounded like a rumble of thunder. Yeah, I think it's time to get off the mountain before the storm comes. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a like, share it on social media, leave me a comment, let me know what you think of the video, the images, etc, etc. And of course, if you're new here and you've enjoyed this and you want to see what else I get up to, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you go. And as always, I really appreciate it that people take the time to watch my videos. So if you've watched this, thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.